guys, and welcome back to another Mystery Monday video on my channel. Today I am a little bit stuffed up, and I hope that doesn't bother you guys too much throughout this video. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Michael Rockefeller was born on May 18th, 1938. He was the fifth child of New York Governor and later Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, making him the fourth generation of the Rockefeller family. Michael, unlike the rest of his family, wasn't really into politics or anything like that, but he was really adventurous and really into art, so he often traveled and did kind of artsy things. Michael had visited Papua New Guinea in the past and had actually stayed there for 6 months while traveling with a filming crew who was creating a documentary. He then returned to his home in America, but after being home for a short while decided to go back to New Guinea, but this time to visit specifically the area south to the Asmat tribe, which is used to describe both of the people who inhabit there as well as the area itself. But unlike the first time that he traveled there, this time Michael would not be traveling with a crew. It would just be 23-year-old Michael Rockefeller along with an anthropologist named Renee Wassing. When they had previously visited New Guinea, they had also visited a tribe, but I'm not sure what this tribe is called or where it is located, but this tribe is very peaceful and is said to have had a lot of visitors, so they were used to tourists coming through and talking to them. The Asmat tribe was a lot more secluded and wasn't used to visitors because many people just didn't go there. This tribe also participated in headhunting as well as cannibalism. And for those of you who may not know what headhunting is, it is when a group of people kill their enemies and then keep their skulls as like a trophy. The supernatural also plays a huge part in the Asmat's beliefs. Anyways, I'm going to come back and talk about the tribe a little bit more when it starts to go hand in hand with the case. On November 15th, 1961, Michael, Renee, and 2 local guides headed out in a boat to try and go to the Asmat tribe to purchase as many wooden carvings that were done by these people as possible. The boat that the group had been traveling in actually wasn't put together properly and was just jerry-rigged and ended up breaking down at the mouth of the Siret River. Immediately when this happened, the 2 guides that were with Renee and Michael jumped out of the boat and said they were swimming back to shore to get help. But Michael and Renee were actually left in the boat in the water for many hours. I believe they were even in there overnight. After being left waiting for help inside this boat for a ridiculous amount of time, Michael decided that he was going to swim to shore and try and get them help himself. He attached his glasses to his neck and also tied himself to, I think, 2 oil cans to try and help to keep himself afloat. They were only about 10 to 12 miles away from the shore and they could actually see the shoreline, so it wasn't too far at all. But regardless of this, Renee said that she wasn't very comfortable being left alone in the boat and tried to convince Michael not to go. But to no avail, Michael went anyway. Michael Rockefeller's last words were, "I think I can make it," and with that, he was never seen again. After Michael had vanished, the whole world pretty much knew about his disappearance pretty quickly because of his status, and huge search groups were sent out immediately to search for him. And these search groups included as much search equipment as you can imagine. There was dogs, ships, helicopters, the whole 9 yards. And Nelson Rockefeller, along with Michael's sisters, also went to Papua New Guinea to help search for Michael. But after 2 weeks of extensively searching for Michael and finding absolutely nothing, people began to lose hope. And that is when the Dutch government started to say that they believed that Michael Rockefeller had drowned or had been eaten by a shark. But soon people started to speculate a different theory that to everybody seemed a little bit more likely. Now, Michael Rockefeller was a very strong swimmer, and like Renee said, they hadn't been too far from shore, so he should have been able to make it. On top of that, the water at the time was very calm and the tide was actually going into shore, so it would have helped Michael get to the shore faster. And the shark theory just doesn't make sense as there has never been a shark attack in that general area. People were now speculating that Michael Rockefeller had made it to shore and was eaten by the village of Ojanap. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm going to put the word on the screen. I did look up how to pronounce that word, but I couldn't find any guideline on how to pronounce it online, so we're going with that. But that is where the Asmat tribe lived. I'm going to now talk a little bit more about the Asmat tribe and why it is very likely that Michael Rockefeller was in fact eaten by this tribe. The Asmat tribe believes in the balance of death and would hold revenge killings, and after they killed their enemies, they would consume their brains, believing that this would give them all of that person's strengths along with some supernatural powers. Following consuming the brain, the skulls would be decorated and set up on display for the rituals, and after the rituals were over, the jaw would be removed from the skull and worn as a pendant. Majority of the people who had gone to Papua New Guinea to investigate Michael Rockefeller's disappearance strongly believed that this is what happened, and that Michael Rockefeller was murdered by the Asmat tribe and then eaten. Shortly after Michael Rockefeller's death, two Dutch missionaries who had been living among the Asmat tribe said that they overheard some of the members of the tribe talking about how they had murdered an American man and then consumed him after he had just randomly shown up on their land. There is also a book written about Michael Rockefeller's disappearance by a man by the name of Carl Hoffman, and in this book he talks about all of the evidence that does suggest that this is in fact what happened to Michael Rockefeller. Carl shares his thoughts on why he thinks this happened inside the book, but also shares other things that he claims are fact, including the fact that it is more likely that, again, Michael Rockefeller made it to shore rather than him somehow drowning. While writing his book, Carl Hoffman went to visit the area where Michael Rockefeller is believed to have vanished from. When he went there, he posed as a journalist who was studying their culture as to not attract unwanted attention to himself. While he was there, his translator allegedly heard a group of men talking about how they couldn't let anybody know about the American man that had been killed there. Obviously intrigued by this, Carl started asking around and was allegedly told that this man was in fact Michael Rockefeller. This next part is kind of like a theory within a theory, but allegedly the Dutch government had actually known about Michael Rockefeller's murder and were working very hard to cover it up. And Carl Hoffman, the author of the book about Michael Rockefeller's disappearance, claims that there is actual documented evidence of this, although I haven't been able to find any, which is why I'm calling this a theory. If this theory is true, then Michael Rockefeller's murder actually had nothing to do with Michael Rockefeller himself. It is said that in 1957 there was some kind of war going on between two tribes, and the war got out of hand, so the Dutch government went in to kind of keep the peace and ended up holding an open fire and killing 3 of the war leaders. And because the Asmat tribe believes in the balance of death, many people believe that Michael Rockefeller was killed to kind of balance out the scale. This next bit of information I also can't confirm, so don't take my word for it. I just thought I'd throw it in here because it is a little bit interesting. But in 1979, Michael Rockefeller's mom allegedly hired a PI to investigate her son's disappearance. And that part of this theory I don't doubt at all. It is said that this PI traded his boat for 3 skulls that were given to him by the Asmat tribe. And it was said by them that these were the only 3 skulls of any white man that was ever murdered on their land. And somehow it is said that this was proven that one of these skulls did in fact belong to Michael Rockefeller. But again, there is absolutely no proof of this being real and no evidence proving that this is fact, so don't take my word for it. I just have a bit of trouble believing that theory because if somehow they had linked one of these skulls to Michael Rockefeller, wouldn't that be public news? You'd think that everybody in the world would hear about that. I mean, there is possibility that maybe for some reason his family wanted to keep this quiet and keep his death to themselves, but I just don't see a reason for that, and I do think that that would be something that would be public knowledge. Another theory in this case is that maybe Michael Rockefeller wanted to stay in Papua New Guinea and decided to join the Asmat tribe. It wasn't a secret that Michael loved New Guinea. He wrote about it constantly in his journals and told everybody that he talked to how much he loved being there. And I mean, that isn't really something that's surprising. He stayed there for 6 months and then returned home for a very short period of time before deciding to return back to New Guinea. And I just don't think you'd do that with somewhere that you didn't love. Now, this theory really arose in 2014 when the footage from a film created by the Agam Film Company called The Search for Michael Rockefeller was released to the public. This footage was taken 8 years after Michael Rockefeller had disappeared, and it shows an unidentified light-skinned Caucasian man standing on a canoe surrounded by naked Asmat warriors. This is the only real evidence that suggests that this theory could be a possibility. And the film is actually way too grainy to be able to even slightly identify who this man could be, so there isn't really much to back it up. That's the only real evidence that suggests that this theory could have possibly happened, and the footage is way too grainy to be able to identify who this man could possibly be. But these are the real only 2 theories in this case. Originally, like I said, people believed that Michael had drowned or was eaten by some creature that lived in the river. But today, pretty much nobody believes those theories at all, just because there is no evidence suggesting that that happened, but there seems to be so much evidence suggesting that he somehow made it to shore and something else happened to him. I really hope that one day we can get some answers on what exactly happened to Michael Rockefeller. It is absolutely horrifying to me that somebody like a Rockefeller who has every kind of search at their disposal can just completely vanish without a trace and there's no way to find them. I mean, those people probably spent millions and millions of dollars searching for their son and nothing has ever been found. But guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I just want to apologize because I feel like this video is going to be a bit shorter. I did do a lot of research, but ultimately the length of the video does depend on the amount of information that I can find on the case. And there just isn't that much in this case, although this case is extremely interesting. There just isn't a lot of stuff to go on. I mean, there is a lot of speculation, but that's just about it. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below what you'd like to see in my future videos. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys!